it's Betsy from Cuttin Corners Vinyl in Nederland, Texas, and today we have a fun video for you. So I'm going to show you the difference in ways that you can layer HTV and why you might use one way versus another. I'm going to show you the full setup of it, plus how to apply it to your shirts. So what you're going to need for today's tutorial is your vinyl, and I'm just using Black Thermoflex Plus and Glow in the Dark. Now remember, our website is down for the next few weeks. Once it goes back up, I will let you know. And then also the shirts, I've just got 3 regular orange t-shirts here. The file is available on our Patreon page for the $4 or more a month patrons. You don't have to support us that way, but if you are interested in it, you do get access to that and pretty much any other file beforehand. So it's kind of a great deal, and you can cancel it anytime. But if you'll give me a moment to change the camera angle, we will go over how to do this. I'm in Cricut Design Space, and I have my Boo design, which is available on our Patreon page, laid out 3 different ways. Now, the reason why I have it laid out 3 times is because I'm going to show you the 3 different ways to layer your HTV and why some things might work better than others. Now, you'll notice when you go to import this design in that the spider web isn't welded and all the black isn't welded. I went ahead and did that before I started this video, but I have tons of videos showing you how to do that. So for our first Boo design, I'm gonna go ahead and hide a few of these so that way we don't see it all, because I don't need to see everything just yet. Okay, so this is our first one. What I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. Okay, very easy. Now I'm going to take this section. We're going to change and go ahead and change the color of that. We're going to make it black. And we're going to weld. Okay? Now, for this portion, undo, I'm going to take my spider web and we're going to slice that out of the black layer. I'm going to take the little smoke blob or whatever that is. Nadia hand drew this, so I still think it's cute. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I did not want to weld that. Let's undo that. And slice that. Okay, now we've got our ghost. And we're gonna slice that. Okay, now our Boo Ghost face, our spider web, and our little banner thing, we'll go ahead and attach those together and move those out of the way. Okay, so as you can see, if we lay this on top, then that's what it's going to look like. So to me, a lot of times when you have a solid black base or your solid base underneath, it is a little bit easier to line up these top pieces, because whenever you're heating vinyl, it does shrink, it does change sizes. But that's not always the preferred method, because sometimes vinyls can't be layered. There are certain glitters that have a white backing that if you go to put it over black, it just doesn't work. But that's one way to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy my green layer and paste it one more time. Okay, so with these 2, let me undo that. Now I want to go back and select all of this, and we're going to go ahead and weld it. And we're going to change that to black because, yeah, not green. Okay, so now for the other 2 ways to do it, because depending on what kind of colors you're using, you are going to layer it kind of like this. So you would still have your outlines and things like that, but we want to add a little bit more of an outline, like if we're going to do the black, because we want it to go over the edge of the glow in the dark. So what I'm going to do is take my black layer. Let me go ahead and take and copy this. I didn't need to lay out all three to begin with, but I did. Okay, so for this portion, I'm going to take my black layer and I want to add an offset. So that's going to cover up the edge of the glow in the dark. So just ever so slightly. So I'm going to go and choose 0.05 and apply that. Okay. Where did my offset go? Sometimes this doesn't, and Cricut's been kind of wonky anyway. That's huge. That's way too big. Okay, there you go. Finally, making it smaller. Okay, let's do 07. Let's try 08. 08's a little bit much. Let's try 07. And see, that's just kind of bringing it down to find out what's going to look the best, because we don't want it to be too much. Let's try 0.05. Okay, let's try 03. Okay, so I like 0.03, and we're going to go ahead and apply that together. Okay, perfect, perfect. So one of the things I want to go ahead and do is I want to take my outline and my regular black layer, and we're going to go ahead and weld that together. Awesome sauce. Perfect, perfect. Now I'm going to take like my spider web, and we're going to move that to the front. Okay. Where is the design? Too many different things. Nope, wrong one. That's the one. And then that spider web. Nope, wrong spider web. Now that one and the spider web, and I'm going to slice it again because for some reason, yeah. The spider web did not want to do what it's supposed to. Nope, undo that. Okay, and then I'm going to take these two pieces and weld it together. Okay, so as you can see, that adds a little bit more of an outline. So what I would do in this case with doing the pieces that way is I would take my darker layer, let's change that to black so it looks the same as the rest, and I'm going to send it to the back. Okay, so as you can see, it still looks the same other than like the lines in the pumpkin, because there's nothing else with it, look a little bit thicker. But when you move it out of the way, you actually, the glow in the dark layers over that black ever so slightly. So whenever you go to put it on there, if your vinyl shrinks or changes, it looks good. Now, the reason why you do it like this versus some of the others is because, like, if you're doing glitter, well, glitter, you can't layer glitter over glitter, so you kind of have to have it where it meets up next to it. Well, this gives you that little bit of wiggle room, so it does line up the way that it's supposed to. And you'll see this when I go to apply it, what it's doing. Okay, so that's what that one looks like. Now, for this layer, what I'm going to do is take my little dudes. Which one are you? Okay, so yes, you and you. I'm going to go ahead and weld you together. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and weld you together. And weld you together because, yeah, why not? And plus, it takes and kind of helps get rid of stuff. Yep. Let's delete that. I'm deleting the ones that I'm not using because why did I do that to myself anyway? I don't know. Okay. Now, our spider web, we're going to weld it. Perfect. And weld that together. Okay, so now for this set, we're going to take and do the opposite. And that is where we're going to take and outline the green. So that way the black layers over the top. Because why we would do this method is if you want to make sure your outline looks perfect. This really kind of helps, and then it doesn't lose any of the detail like within the pumpkin. So when we take and move that out of the way, oop, hold on, I forgot to do something. Okay, so let's undo the outline. Okay, so perfect. I don't know what it did earlier. It was, you saw it, it was solid. Sometimes that's what happens. So let's grab our green layer, okay, and let's offset it. Very tiny outline. Perfect. Why did you do that? That's not what I had, is it? That's what I had. Okay, hold on. Let's undo you. Cricut Design Space is acting a little wonky. Okay, so let's move you out of the way before we do this and see what happens then. Yes, that's better. Okay, so now I'm going to change the outline on that to green, and then I'm going to take and weld it together. What did you do? Okay. Darn it. Cricut Design Space does not like me right now. Okay. Select both of those and weld it. Okay. So as you can see, if I lay that on top, it looks kind of funky. But if I take and arrange that to the back, that covers and now it looks the same. But as you can see, each method, there's some overlap, but that's kind of where we are. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on Make It. We're doing this all out of HTV, so we're going to go ahead and mirror. We're going to do it on matte because I don't like Cricut Smart Vinyl. Okay, let's change this to 12 by 19. Can do them all that way. Make sure to mirror it. Same thing for this. Change it to 12 by 19. Okay, mirror it. Now, if you'll give me a moment to change the camera angle, I will go over how to put these together. So as you can see, I have my first shirt laid out, and I'm going to give myself a center mark like I always do. Now, this is the one that is the solid black backing, which to me is probably one of the more preferred methods for this, and the reason being is I think that way it gives you the most leeway when it comes to your design, in my opinion, because you know, everything's solid. So if it's off, it's not as easy to tell, because when you're adding like a slight outline so it slightly overlaps, you know, I gotta change the time on that, but that way when it slightly overlaps, if you overheat it, it can still change to something that isn't perfect. So we've got our black base layer down, and again, the heat press is heated. Oh, no, gotta heat it a little longer. The heat press is heated to 330 degrees, and we do try to do it for 15 seconds. But when we're doing layers like this, we don't heat it all the way through. Okay, so there is our black layer. Now, the reason being that I did it like this with the solid black is when we go to put our glow in the dark over the top with it like that, see how quick and easy it is to line up? And that's part of it, is I like how quick and easy this is to line up when it's like that. When you're doing a bunch of shirts at once, that's important. But as I said, some vinyls cannot be layered over and some vinyls can't be the top layer, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna heat this for the full 15 seconds this time. So with that being said, if some can't be layered over and some can't layer over things, that's why you need the other methods. So this is going to last on here for a long time. Let me reheat that because I always do, and plus I have a little bit of pucker right there. Okay, and now I'm going to, let me change this temperature or time again one more time, because I had it set, we were doing direct garments earlier, so it's at the wrong thing. Okay, so to me, this is the most preferred method because it is the easiest to line up. And if you're doing a bunch of shirts or things like that with cut vinyl, this method I think works the best as far as how fast it goes. But the other methods work too for different reasons. But as you can see, this is what it looks like. And it's not thick on here. Now it can be at times depending on the thickness of vinyl, but these are good vinyls. Now there was some pre-treat that stuck to my thing, but once you wash it, you won't see that. But as you can see, that's the easiest method to start with. Now, we're gonna show you another way. Now, say I need to do a shirt that is 2 colors of deco film. Now, this is more for like if you're doing a customer job, because a lot of things are gonna work in general with the amount of times you're gonna wash it or whatever. But whenever you're doing stuff for clients, you really wanna make sure things go easy. So, the next method is the thicker glow in the dark with the less of the black. Now this method is great for certain things, but this is probably my least preferred method because you have to apply this layer first. Well, if this layer isn't the biggest layer, it always makes it more difficult. But again, if you can't layer over it, this is kind of what you've got to do. So, and you also have to play with your placement a little bit more with this method. Whereas, you know, normally you wouldn't. So, there is the glow in the dark. Perfect. Now, here is the top layer. Now, I do love how thin the lines are. That is part of the reason why this is a great method. As you can see, the black looks the way it's supposed to. Everything is covered. There's nothing that's out of place. It's just, it's harder to do and takes longer because, as you can see, that glow in the dark layer is a tad bit smaller. But you're not distorting your image really at all with this method, if that makes sense. Same kind of thing goes with the first method I showed you, but that also can add a little bit of thickness, so that would definitely not be preferable if you're working with like a dimension or anything like that, because it's going to add so much depth to it. Okay. But as you can see, that still looks great, and it makes it so easy. And I know that this might be a little bit complex, and if you have any questions about it, leave it down below. But when you do this method, and it's such a minute outline, you're not adding, like as you can see, you can't see where they're overlapping, if that makes sense. But that looks great. Okay, now, the last method to me is probably, this one's definitely not my favorite for certain reasons, especially because a lot of times to add a bleed like this onto a shirt, because that's more of what it's considered. It's an outline and offset, but in the screen printing world, in the printing world, it's what you would consider to be a bleed. And the reason why this isn't my preferred method when it comes to this is because, like in my pumpkins, you can see those are a little thick. You lose a little bit of the detail this way. But again, it's whatever method works best for you and you alone, and what vinyls you're working with. And this method again would be preferable if, you know, you've got a vinyl that's underneath that can't be layered over. So say we're doing this with glitter. So that's part of it. Okay, there we go. Now let's grab our white layer. And again, this will look great once it's done. It's just certain parts of it look a little bulkier. So we're gonna go ahead and heat this for the full 15 seconds. But it's all also about your personal preference, and again, what materials you're working with. So we'll stop it there, because you don't need to sit here for another few minutes just to see what that looks like. But you can see again that it doesn't add any bulk to it. That's where it comes in handy. It's just that doesn't look the best. But you can see what and why you would use these different methods. Now I know they probably don't look the most different up here, but they are. So ask your questions down below. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I guess that's it. So we'll see y'all later.